What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel. I got another deck profile here. This is I guess my take on Border Stun. It's a little bit different than like the super standard, just a regular trap deck. But yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. This is something that I ran this for a very long time, for probably like 2 years straight, like when I first started doing Rogue, and I really, I mean, like, when I first was running it, it was fine, and this is before they brought back heavy before they brought back the Harpies feathers, the Harpies card. This is also before we got Lightning Storm, and so I don't know how well this deck will go into the competitive. I've done a little bit of casual play with it just to kind of get the build back and see where I like it, to get the ratios for this video. And I do plan on giving it a couple tries in a couple of my locals this weekend, so hopefully there'll be a tournament report on this. There is another deck that I want to try out for my local, so I might not run this in the main one. I might play it in maybe like a side tournament or something, but we'll figure it out. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. Talked enough in the beginning. All right, so we're gonna start off with the monsters. So what I do is that I actually start off with 3 statues. I'm thinking maybe of just cutting out this one and just running two of this one with 1 fire. There's not really many decks, or maybe actually I might take out the fire because some people might run Silent Man Grade and stuff. So maybe the earth one might be the good one. There's not a lot of cards that could really that are earth that are really spamming, but this is just sometimes people just naturally will lose to just simply playing barrier and having 2 traps. So like getting a dead hand or just opening a barrier just really kills. Like there's a lot of times where even going second, like you summon a barrier and then you set 4, and like once the second it goes to your opponent's turn, and once all those traps are live, even if they have a line of gates, if you have a good amount of trap cards and there's a couple of cards you use to protect the barrier, then your opponent pretty much can no longer special summon, and they have to beat your board with what they have currently. And a lot of times, like I said, if they have 3 negates and you have 4 interruptions, especially with some of the cards I'll show you, you could actually, like I said, just one of these cards right here could just win you the game. So these are more just because sometimes I really want to have extra monsters, but there's certain, like what was it? I think back then when I wanted extra monsters, I would run the Banisher, the Radiance. But even though Banishing is really good, when you play this deck, since it's not meta, it's not as powerful as other decks, you really just need cards that will kind of just be very impactful the moment they hit the field. And yeah, the fact that this locks you out of special summoning in most situations, this is as impactful as it gets. So I run 3 of those. It's the card, the number will be 40 for a 40 card deck. I don't think I mentioned that in my last deck profile, but this is a 40 card deck. So next 3 cards, this is gonna be very standard now, is 3 False Dyna. Very very simple. Can't special summon. That's about as hardcore as you get. Set it, flip, destroys all special summon monsters. So it's a Raigeki. It is also a Vanity Emptiness. It's 2 things in 1. We love that in this deck. Thunder King Ryo, very similar. It is a very not, I would say it's a very beefy boy. It's not, I mean, it has a 19 body, so it's very hard just to beat over it by battle. It has has the ability to prevent your opponent from searching cards, and it could negate inherit summons. Like it can't stop special special summons that that like start a chain. Like if they activate Monster Reborn, it can't negate that summon. But if they were to link or XYZ, you could tribute this to to negate that summon. So that's very useful in a lot of situations, even just stopping summons. And I mean stopping searching. I said no, so yeah, whatever. Anyway, my favorite. This is one of my favorite stun cards. I think actually I might start running this in my side deck just as like a kind of just something just as a really impactful card to have in your side deck just to play. Inspector Warder. 2000 attack, 2000 defense. You cannot be normal special summon if you control a monster. So a lot of the times you want to open with this. You want this to be the first one you summon. If not, it's not really the end of the world, because usually your opponent is really trying to get rid of the monster, because like the way Yu-Gi-Oh is now, there's so many extenders, there's so many there's extenders, a lot of protection. Your opponent mostly is gonna worry about this because this or this or any of the other cards, even something as simple as like a Thunder King Ryo. Like if your opponent can't search any more cards and you negate two things, then your opponent's in a very bad position. So a lot of the times they'll not waste, but they'll use a resource to get rid of your monster, and then they'll just start playing through your traps, and they'll slowly get to the point where the only trap you have left is a trap that's not really that useful, and then they're able to just start building their board from there. So one of the main like a lot of times where I lose games, it isn't because I don't get good traps. I have good traps and I'm activating those traps. It's just that there's nothing to there's nothing to give those traps substance. Like those traps are just interrupting my opponent, but then my opponent could just freely, all right, well, I searched freaking 2 more cards, I have an extender, let me just build the same board. So this right here really prevents them from doing that. And it isn't just Inspector Border. It's all the monsters. It's the barrier statues. It's the fossil Dyna. But this one right here is just, especially because of how not a lot of people don't fully understand exactly how this card works. Especially because it's worded kind of weird. But yeah, like this one right here really puts them in in really bad spots. So the whole name of the game really is protecting the monster and putting just the most I don't want to say oppressive board, because it's a lot of these traps are not really going to be super oppressive. The more going to be like reacting, because you kind of can't always just rely on having oppressive cards. They can't just run a bunch of solemns and say, yep, this is my trap stun deck and it's going to be good. So for my surprise card, I run 3 Scapegoat. I remember when I was running this deck, I was running just the one Scapegoat, and it would really come in handy. I'll show you the cards that I use in my extra deck that really would help me out in certain situations. But yeah, having access to the triple Scapegoat now, I was actually tripping. I actually went to the list to make sure, so I'm like, wait, isn't the Scapegoat back? And yeah, it is back. And I tried it, and it does really come in handy. Like it helps out a lot. It gets a lot of it makes a lot of situations where you think you don't have anything, and then you just activate a Scapegoat, and you could go into your extra deck and pull something good out. So yeah, having the Scapegoat is good. Pot of Duality, standard. You really want to dig for specific cards. Like drawing 2 cards is good too. Just getting 2 traps in general is very good, but you really want to make sure you have oh, sorry about that. You want to make sure you have exactly the right monster for that situation. If not, you want to have a barrier statue, or you want to have Inspector Border to that way just be as oppressive as you can. So being able to search is the best option, basically. Triple Extrav, because your extra deck is not that important, but it there are situations where you do need some cards in your extra deck. So Extrav, I wanted to have triple prosperity, but it didn't come in time, so I just had to go. I'm just gonna been trying it without triple prosperity, and it has been working, because a lot of the times I just need extra traps. But yeah, you do want to get certain cards. You rather just get certain cards. So I think I might cut this down to 2 and have 3 prosperity, because right now I'm running at 2 prosperity. So I'm gonna switch the ratios. I think I'm run triple, 3 copies of prosperity, and then 2 extra. That's just because lets you dig into your deck to get that Inspector Border or barrier, whatever you need at that moment. Plus, you could save your extra deck cards, and I'll show you why it's important in a bit. And the last spell that I run is Card of Demise. This was at 3 last time I was running this deck. This was such a powerhouse. But yeah, it had to go. I understand why. It really made the deck broken. So this is just like that really broken what of that. If you get it, you pull it off, do it, bam, you most likely will win the game. Alright, now for the traps. I'm running less traps than before, but it's still getting the job done, especially because I'm able to dig for those specific cards using Pot of Prosperity. So it isn't like last time where I'm just relying on RNG and hoping I'm getting certain cards. I'm able to dig and just get the right cards. So first off, we have my Phantom Knight cards, which are the Phantom Knight's sword and then the Phantom Knight's wing. Basically they do the same thing. This one gives it an 800 attack boost, and this one gives it a 500 attack boost. This is, you know, it's continuous. This is just one-time use trap card. So this is mostly you're gonna. I believe the 500 attack boost is permanent. Yeah, the 500 attack boost is permanent, but this will only protect it for the turn, and this will protect it for as long as it is equipped to it. So yeah, if it faces a monster, it gets 800, and then it would be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroys the card instead. Yeah, so the only thing that I'm having trouble with, I need something to protect them from targeting that also still allows them to attack. I was trying Safe Zone out. That's a card that I would try it out, and it was really good, but in situations where I only had one monster, which happens a lot, I could not push for game, and eventually they just they found it out to the safe zone, which outed my monster, and I was not able to, like, you know, come back, you know, like, you know, especially if they're able to search the out, you know, in like 2 turns. So that's pretty much that. That's just those 2 Phantom Knight cards. 3 Crackdown. This is the Crackdown. It's good, very, very good, but like, you have to be smart when you use it. That's the thing about this deck. Like, it's very easy to get some wins, especially if you go first a lot, but it's also easy to think that you're just gonna win because they don't know how to play against traps. Like, you have to make sure that you're using like the cards in the right time. Don't just sit there and just crack down the strongest monster and think that, okay, well, they're not going to be able to beat over it. You really need to make sure you're using one card, chain with the crackdown. So as long as you use this card properly, even though it's kind of falling out of favor, I really still like it, and it does come in handy, especially when they have, you know, a lot of like, not strong monsters, but they have 2 interruptions, and then, you know, like, they want to activate one, you know, you use this, you know, you use like one of your other traps to try to, you know, get them to I'm over explaining simple things. I do that a lot. I'm gonna stop doing that. But yeah, Crackdown, good. There, done. Gotta stop doing that here. All right, Ice Dragon's Prison. This is very self-explanatory. There's a lot of, like, you know, Splight, Tear Element, all that stuff just has good stuff in the graveyard, and that's it. It doesn't work against Flu, obviously, but, you know, you could just side out, you know, any, like, depending on your matchup, your preference. These are very easy cards to side out, but they also are high impact, especially if your opponent already has an established board. Most likely they're gonna have something in the graveyard that you can use, so this is good for going second, where it's like, all right, do all that, set it, and then go ahead and activate that to, you know, get a free pop or get a free good monster. Storming Mirror Force. Out of all the Mirror Forces, this is the best one. It returns all the attack percent monsters to the hand. It pretty much gets around almost everything, catches a lot of people off guard. This feels very, very good to resolve that. And finally, my last 3 cards that I run is Solemn Judgment. You have to running at 3. It stops everything. You obviously know the cards that you're afraid of. You know, like that's pretty much how it is. Like, they gave us these back at 3. They got rid of Red Reboot, which really helps. Having this at 3 with no Red Reboot makes this deck good. But if they have 2 forms of mass backward removal, then yeah, you're gonna have a really, really bad time. But, you know, like I said, if they just have the one, then you should be fine, because you also have a lot of, like, draw power. So as long as you don't overcommit and your opponent just doesn't fully OTK, especially if you could kind of force them to use their battle phase to get over your monster, then you could kind of come back, and then you could kind of, you know, also Scapegoat. That's another way you could really, you know, protect yourself. Like, they try to blow the board, activate Scapegoats. That way you have all your Scapegoats there, and then they either have to, they have to use their battle phase to get over them, or they can't get over them. They can use a little bit of a link play, and I'll show you the cards that I like to use for those link plays. I don't have a full extra deck, because a lot of them are just fodder cards. So I have a couple examples that I use for fodder. So you could change some of these out and to whatever you want. So what I like to use as my link ones that I use, I like to use Link Spider and Link Karibo. I'm currently using just two. I'm currently using two Link Spider and then the one Link Karibo. It hasn't been an issue, but like I said, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch to two X-Drav and three Prosperity. So I might add one extra Karibo, but you basically just use them to get rid of you basically just use them to get rid of your tokens, to give them different names. So that way you're able to go into your different Link monsters. I'll show you the ones that we use to get the different names out together. IP Masquerena. You basically get four tokens. So like if you want to have a little bit of extra interruption, you could do a play like this where you get two of them out, and you go into the use two of them and go into the IP Masquerena, and then maybe you use then you could use maybe one other one to do something, but you could just the one Masquerena, have two of them, and then you could activate her effect to summon her out. You want her, obviously I already pulled her out, but yeah, you run this right here. The extra deck is basically just like a little extra toolbox. It's like, it isn't really, you don't have to run exactly how I'm running it to have success. You could tailor this to your meta or tailor this to your preferences. It's just more about the different combos that you could come up with using Scapegoat. You could just use it defensively, or you could use it in this way to where you're getting like little combos off. For my rank 2, like I run another IP Masquerena, but I also like to have the Nightmares. Currently, I only have Phoenix because I've been having more issues with just back row, because like with the monsters I have I've used my traps to really get around the monsters if they attack, or use the crackdown, the DP freaking I was gonna say DPE, the dragon's prison. But back row is kind of an issue, so I do like to have the two Nightmare Phoenix. That's why you have the Link Spiders here, to like use one to make a Link Spider, and then you could use one token and then one Link Spider that's different names to to summon him, and then he uses effect. That's also very helpful. Like I said, it's kind of weird how a back row deck doesn't want to deal with other people's back row, but like I said, that's what actually gives me problems. So as a rank 3, I do run a Nightmare Unicorn, just 2 Nightmare Unicorn. These are more fodder. You could switch these with anything, maybe add an extra Link Spider and also another Link Karibo, just to have more if you're afraid of getting rid of them. But these are just have them in there just in case. Nothing really special. So now we kind of go to more substance cards. Nightmare Griffin. I really like having like a Nightmare Griffin in there. It's very simple to go into, with your with your different link climbing, and you could also do multiple different effects. So like if you need to get rid of, like, if you have 2 cards in your hand and you activate a Scapegoat with all 4 tokens, you could pretty much go ahead and climb the ladder if you have all the right cards, where you could get rid of a back row, and you could send something back to the deck, and you could also then you could end on the Griffin, because you need the 4 monsters, so you just use 1 to go into a Link 1, then 2 of them, 3, and then that's the 4. So it's very very easy to like climb and make all those these little combos, to where you could use the Griffin to set anything. So you could basically get rid of 2 cards and then set, and then if any of those cards that you actually liked, you could reset it back from the grave. So that's like a little combo that I like to use. Talker. This is very self-explanatory. You're basically just taking out you're taking out your opponent. This is mostly to catch them off guard after they've used a lot of their resources to stop your traps, or they've or they've tried to play through your back row, or they've used resources to start popping everything off, and then you activate Scapegoat. And if they leave you the 4 monsters, or if you just have an extra monster, then you could just Talker that, just hitting them with the decode Talker after you've climbed up. You'll have a whole bunch of targets to use to get rid of the field. Zealantis, this is just another way to deal with the boards. Like I said, you get it out, you use Scapegoat, Link Climb, and then at the end of it all, you use a Zealantis, get rid of everything to kind of reset. This has never come up, but you're not really relying on your extra deck. These are just weird situations. And the last one I have is a Sorry to Skull Dread. This one I do like using. I really like using. I like to. I don't always use a fourth one because I don't always get the. I don't always get them all with the different names. But when I do have that situation, and I did it twice where I was able to draw 4, but mostly I just do it towards 3, and then it lets me special summon a 1 monster from my hand. So it's really helpful for when you use up all your traps, and maybe you have you have like an extra monster, whether it doesn't matter what monster it is, any of the monsters that you had, except for the border, because he's not able to be summoned when you have something on the field. But any of the other monsters except for the Spectre border, and if you have all 4 of your tokens, you could climb into him and then use his effect to summon that monster. And then it's monster summon. The monster would gain 300 attack. So that, I mean, the fact that it gains 300 attack is really, really helpful. And then you have the Saruja. I don't know. I've done this. I really like it, and I want to see. I'm getting all giddy and excited because I really want to try this deck out. I wanna go out there and put it in more competitive situations. As for the side deck, like I said, I don't want to show a side deck. The side deck is just more of the traps that you want to run. Cards I recommend that you put in your side deck for this deck is any extra solemn cards. Evenly matched is something you could, if you're afraid of going second and stuff. If game 3 and it goes second, have evenly matched, have some board breakers. You could put stuff like Dark Bribe if you're really afraid of your opponent coming in with the Duster, or coming in with Lightning Storm. Also another oh man, what was that? Waking the Dragon. I do not have a copy of that on me. I thought I had it over here, but yeah, that's another card that I would recommend putting in the side deck to stop to kind of punish your opponent from destroying your backfield, and then in game 2 or 3, or game 3 most likely, your opponent will think twice about doing that. So those are just a couple of suggestions. You guys could use whatever you want in your side deck, because your side deck very much determines on whether you're playing competitive or casual, at your locals or at a higher level. So whatever you feel necessary, you could use. That's it. Thanks for stopping by. That's it for now. Peace out.